We are live! Coming to you today from Facebook. Just want to make sure we are live. If I'm out there and you can hear me, if I didn't hear me the first time, I'll say it again. And we are live! Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Brian Gregg, hopefully with a little bit different of a setup, a scenario here. A couple things I want to say before we get started. First of all, thank you to everybody who watched yesterday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do these every day, but I'm going to try to do them as often as possible. That's not giving me the glare, so I'm not going to mess with it. I got a glare on my glasses. It's bothering me during this video, but I just want to address that. I know yesterday I was very loud. I'm going to be loud today, probably, but I'm going to be less loud because this isn't a passion speech like yesterday was. This is more of just sharing information, sharing my methods, sharing my way of just deciphering what's real. You know, one problem that everybody has in this country for sure is, especially when it comes to the coronavirus, you hear people say, oh my God, I don't know what's real and what's not anymore. I don't know what's real and what's fake. First of all, volume up. Okay. I can't guarantee I'm going to talk about every comment, but what I am going to say is today I'm going to be a lot more comment friendly because I want this to be interactive, because I want you guys to be able to share stuff with me that you want me to take a look at. Once I get started and once you see what I want to do here, and again, this is either going to be, I'm going to be honest, I don't do this. I'm not a Facebook pro, but I'm going to try to do my absolute best to try to, maybe take the screen. I'm going to see if I can do it right now. Take my screen and I'm not able to do what I wanted to do, which is to put a news article on the screen and highlight things and show you my screen. Unfortunately, that's not what I'm going to be able to do today. I'm going to have to read stuff and I'm going to have to explain it to you. You're going to have to, click the link yourself and follow along and read along with me. And now someone's telling me to re-record it if I'm not going to interact. That's incorrect. I do want to say one thing, though. A lot of people yesterday said to me today, hey, nice shirt. They like my Pink Hulkamania shirt. So I intentionally put this shirt on. I want to give a shout out. I'm going to wear different shirts. I'm going to talk about my shirt or different things. This has nothing to do with propaganda. It has nothing to do with politics. I just want to give a shout out to my boy Brandon Webb, the Devil's Reject, local independent wrestler out of the Northeast area. He's a good dude. Hell of a Hulk Hogan impression. Not quite as good as me, but a hell of a Hulk Hogan impression nonetheless. And he'd be the first one to admit that. But he's a good dude. Go support Brandon Webb. Devil's Reject Brandon Webb. You could find him all over. Go search for it. You know what I mean? But as far as today and the topic at hand, I'm trying to kind of let the video play. I'm trying to let some people come in. I'm trying to, kind of get things started. But the thing that I want to focus on today is a word that I truly believe that most people in America don't exactly understand the meaning of. And it has to do with the education system. And I'm going to get to that in a second. And that word is propaganda. Okay? Now, hear me out. When I say propaganda, the first thing that comes to all of your minds, and it does for me too, because it's the textbook definition of propaganda, is Uncle Sam pointing a finger and saying, your country needs you. Okay? Now, as great of an example as that is of propaganda, it's not even the best example, and I'm going to explain why. It's the best example to teach you what propaganda is without really teaching you what propaganda is. Because if you knew what propaganda actually was, you wouldn't be susceptible to it. So therefore, it's not something that's going to be taught to you in schools, which are designed more, especially young school, grade school, junior high, high school. These are schools that are designed to teach you how to think, and not how to think freely, how to think like they want you to think, obviously. But they're designed to teach you how to think. But more importantly, they're designed to prevent you from how not to think. They're designed to stop you from thinking in a way that's counterproductive to the overall agenda. Okay. Now, I want to kind of I think the comments are scrolling live with me here just to kind of go back up. My buddy Ray, keep it up, Satanist. You're right. Devil's Reject. Brandon Webb, he's the man. You're not going to interact. Just record it and repost it. Live interactions for suckers. I don't know about that. This is going to be interactive. What's up, son? Rob, what's good? Josh. Okay. Nice shirt. Thank you. Pre-record. Gamer Gimmick hype. Let's do it. That Gamer Gimmick guy, I heard he's pretty cool. He's going to be doing some streaming in a mask, which should look dope. So we'll see how that goes. But back to the focus at hand here, which is propaganda. So I'm not able to show you on the stream necessarily what I would want to. I will be able to take any links that I'm posting and post them in the comment thread. I'll be able to either do it during the live stream or afterwards once it's concluded. You can go back and look. Wait, give me like 10, 15 minutes to go and actually transfer over the links and post them. But I want to really explain something to you here now. And I've heard people say, years ago when you watched the news, they gave you information. They didn't tell you how to think about it. This is true to an extent. However, they've always told you how to think about it. This is going to be a lot of the media. Brent Nadell, my boy, I'm driving. Drive safely, Brent. Don't watch. 2 hands on the wheel. This is going to be about propaganda, but about the media in general, about the agenda, how to spot the agenda, how to know the difference between genuine information versus the agenda, and how to kind of, navigate the waters a little bit. So to start at the very beginning, I was hoping someone was going to suggest a topic or give me something to look into. But it didn't really happen, so I'll kind of just take reign with that, which I have no problem with. When information is presented, I'm going to present you guys information right now, okay? This is the instructional slip that came with my GoPro, okay? So the instructional slip teaches you how to adjust it to things, put it on things, okay? Also, I want to let you know that when I opened my GoPro, I found a dangerous object, a sharp piece of paper that has sharp, jagged edges that if you were to give this to a child, he could cut himself, okay? I also want to show you, okay, a nice group of pictures. Look at this great artwork here, okay? Look at this, tremendous display of information and well put together. The point I'm trying to make is I took a piece of paper that I didn't plan on talking about, and I explained it to you in 3 different ways. Now, all 3 ways technically might be true. That second one is stretching it a little bit, but you could argue that it's true. I could take this corner and I could poke it in a little kid's eye, and I assure you it's going to lead to a problem. You could get a paper cut, To say that something is true or not true when you're dealing with propaganda is irrelevant, because here's why I say that. When I held this up and I explained to you, this is the instructions that came with my GoPro, that is undeniably true, but it's the only information that you need to understand what this piece of paper is, okay? Now, the second thing that I mentioned, being that this is a weapon, it's also true because, like we said, sharp edges, piece of paper, dangerous. You don't know what's in there. Don't give it to a baby. But the fact that I would invest time into telling you about this is unnecessary, because you're sensationalizing something. You're trying to tell me how to feel about something. You're speaking to my emotions instead of speaking to my intellect. Now, the third example that I gave, which is look at these great pictures, that's more of an opinion, okay? Because some people might not think this is great artwork. Some people might not think this is great instructions. Some people might not think that this is a a useful piece of paper. Ryan Pitts, I'm loud. Thank you. I'm going to suggest, you know what? I don't want to break my train of thought. And I don't want to tell you guys that you're responsible for turning your microphones down. However, I can't find volume on my microphone, man. And my voice is weird, man. If I whisper and I start talking quiet and I sound like this, I sound like a creep. I'm not going to go, hey guys, you want to talk about some propaganda? You want me to tell you about propaganda? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk like I would talk if we were in person. I apologize if I'm loud. Turn the volume down a little. Remind me if it happens again in the future. I'm not trying to be overly loud. I'm just trying to explain to you that when you tell someone something, okay, you explain it in a way where you either give them 100% factual information or you explain it in a way where it's appealing to someone's emotions. And if I move the camera any further back, it's not going to be practical. My camera is already a decent ways away from me. Here we go. I'm not adjusting the camera anymore. I'm not messing with the stuff. I don't want to detract from what we're talking about here, which is how people detract from information. So kind of what you're seeing is somewhat of an example, but not really. This is the best example. And I didn't even plan on this. I didn't think this out at all. I'm just showcasing it to you. The purpose of propaganda is any sort of media, okay? Any sort of media whatsoever that is manipulative for a malicious reason. The reason why I say a malicious reason is when you see Sarah McLachlan, in the arms of an angel, and you see, little dogs like this sitting there in the cage, shaking. Little tiny dog, look at her, little tiny dog shaking, this little tiny dog, being hungry, sitting in a cage. Is it a form of propaganda? Yes. Not government-sponsored. It's not state-sponsored propaganda. But it's the same issue. It's manipulative media. And I want to be very clear. For this entire video only, okay, I will be using the word media not to describe the news media, also known as the mainstream media or the legacy media. I am referring to media as the exact definition of the word media. For instance, a book is known as print media. A Blu-ray disc is known as digital media, okay? Television is known as the television media or Hollywood media or whatever medium that you have, if it is able to provide you information and it is able to send a message to you, it is media, okay? So for this moving forward, the word media, get out of your head that I'm talking about the news. I'm talking about specific types of media, okay? So I want to go back and address Uncle Sam and why I said it's not even the best type of example of propaganda. And here's why I say this. The Uncle Sam propaganda came out during a war. I want to say it was potentially World War I. I might be wrong. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know something that I don't. I know it was the famous Uncle Sam poster. It was wartime propaganda, and I don't remember which war. However, I think it was either World War I or World War II. I think it was World War I because it was related to the Great Depression, because the reason that it came out is because they said, we need you, is because they did need soldiers at the time. They needed people to show up and fight this war, okay? So they made a poster showing Uncle Sam being the representation of America and basically looking at you to try to play on your emotions and to tell you that America needs you, okay? It's very simple. It's very basic. But what it does is it attaches to your emotions. It doesn't give you any information. It doesn't give you any reason. It doesn't give you any proof of anything. It's simply emotional. Okay? So you would see this, and you would see this, Uncle Sam needs you, and you'd say, oh, by gosh, I love my country. Uncle Sam needs me. Where's the recruiter? Let me sign up. And it's not necessarily the best way to describe propaganda because it's so plain and simple in its approach, and it leads people to believe that the only type of propaganda that you can have is state-sponsored propaganda that boosts your love and opinion of your country. And that's not the case scenario. That's not true at all, like I described to you with the Sarah McLachlan commercial, okay? It's not even done in a malicious way. As long as the ASPCA is actually using the money donated to help animals, and if you call the ASPCA and you say, I want to adopt animals, and they connect you with these animals and you're able to raise these animals, then they're playing on your emotions, but it's not malicious. They just want people to help animals, because if they come out and say, hey, my name is Steve from the ASPCA, I just want you to know there's a bunch of dogs that need homes, and we don't have enough money to feed them and do everything. So if you want to send us some money for free, or you want to pick up a dog and help one, call this number on the bottom of the screen. Later, no one's going to do it. It's not going to happen, because sometimes you need an emotional response from people to get them to do things. Propaganda becomes dangerous when it's used for a malicious cause, or it's used to manipulate people to do something that is not in their own best interest, or to believe something that is not in their own best interest. Now, as much as I want to give you an example, I'm going to take a second and look at a few posts, and I just saw that someone posted a video here. So what I'll do is I'll take a look at the video live as I'm speaking to you. You're going to watch me watch the video. You're going to hear my reaction. You're going to hear the audio in the background. And then I'm going to tell you how I feel about it, and I'll pause it if necessary. But just to go back, I only said that because yesterday we didn't tell him. Good job. I appreciate you guys telling me today. Very much so. I'm good. Keep going. Thank you, Rob. I was going to say start there, but you didn't anyway. Did. Okay. Propaganda. Is there propaganda in the media aimed at children? 100%. 100%. And that's going to be a topic that we're going to get to once I kind of have a better breakdown and I've already explained the foundations, because then we're going to go into specific examples of who's using it maliciously and why they're using it maliciously. Okay. So, Uncle Sam originated from a meat packer in 1812. Thank you very much, Brent. I appreciate that. That's why I was saying I didn't know. I'm never going to claim to know something I don't know. I'm going to be the first one to say I don't know it. Please provide the information in the comments if you can. Brent, you're driving. Stop responding. Get back, 2 hands on the wheel. Listen, put me on the Bluetooth. Watch the video. I'm just kidding. If you're at a red light and you want to respond, I really do appreciate the contributions. Josh sent a video here. Cargill Vinton. I love it. Cargill probably knows my boy Brandon Webb. But with that, and I hope Brandon doesn't get mad that I'm doing this video and I'm repping him on it, but I don't think he will. But he's a good dude. But I'm going to open this video right now. We're going to take a look at it. It looks to be there's a great episode of The Simpsons on propaganda. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to look like a liar if this is a 21-minute episode of The Simpsons, because I'm not going to be watching a full episode here. Okay, hold on. So I want to pause. So I see it's a 2-minute video. Party posse, and then a bunch join the Navy. Okay. This is going to be misinformation, most likely. What I'm about to see, he knows Brandon Webb. Brandon Webb's a good dude. He'd appreciate the Hulk Hogan references that I throw on here. But, oh, hell no, copyright. Yeah, well, no, it's not copyright infringement if I don't show the video. But I can already tell you right now that what we're about to watch on The Simpsons together, and it's going to take 2 minutes and 13 seconds. You're going to watch my live reaction. I'm already telling you right now, this is misinformation on what propaganda is. This is giving people a false sense of knowing what propaganda is. Propaganda is not hidden messages. Propaganda is not secret messages, reverse talking, flashing pictures on the screen, subliminals. That's not propaganda. Propaganda is presented as there's nothing wrong with it. Propaganda is presented as 100% reality that you don't question. It's not a secret or hidden thing. It's open and it's in your face. And when you know how to spot it and you know how to see it, you will never be tricked by it again. So let's go over to the Simpsons clip. I'm going to make this full screen, and I'm going to take 2 minutes and 24 seconds. I might pause it in the meantime. I apologize. If this is absolutely awful in 2 minutes, this is brutal, tell me and I won't watch videos live, but I feel this is very important to get my live reactions to things being submitted that you guys want to know about. So let's take a look. All right, so we got an American flag.
There's trouble in a far-off nation. Time to get in love formation. Your love's more deadly than Saddam. That's why I...
Okay. I'm pausing right now that I can see what's happening, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to talk about it. Then we're going to go back to the video. But immediately from viewing the video, the first thing that I saw was an American flag and then a bunch of jets and then all the kids from The Simpsons, Milhouse, Bart, Nelson, all flying in planes, singing songs about how good America is. I have a spoiler alert. Most propaganda today is anti-American. Can you believe that? Anti-American propaganda. And it's sponsored by our own government. And I'm going to get there and we're going to talk about it. But propaganda is not limited to being something that pushes a pro-American message. You have to understand that right now. Get that out of your brain. It is not reality. It is the false sense. That's part of the brainwashing. That's part of the conditioning, okay? If you believe that you see something that is positive for your country and you think that that is all that propaganda can be, you are mistaken. You can, in fact, have pro-America propaganda. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Like I said earlier, you can have pro-animal propaganda, okay? Propaganda can be anything. It is not limited to patriotism, okay? Propaganda is a way of manipulating people. Understand this. Propaganda, say it with me. Propaganda is a way of manipulating people, okay? We're going to go back to the video. I'm going to continue to watch it, and I'm going to judge it. Now, for some reason, the one that was sent to me has Spanish subtitle. I believe. They might not be. I don't know. They might be German. They might be Portuguese. I don't speak any other languages other than English, so I'm just making educated guesses on what the language is. Now, I want you all to listen. I'm going to put my volume up to full blast, okay? Which it already is, son of a bitch. I'm going to put the YouTube video up to full blast. It already is. And I want you to listen as I play this and listen to the words. I'm not going to talk again till the end of the video this time, no matter what, okay? 3, 2, 1.
There's trouble in a far-off nation. Time to get in love formation. Your love's more deadly than Saddam. That's why I gotta drop the bomb. Ponte, ponte!
Okay, this should be interesting.
Questo corazzo mi fa impazzire. Non significa niente. È come Bibappalula oppure Cancella il...
All right, and this... Wait.
So sing it again. Even if me
The words that they're saying are the words join the Navy backwards. So it's implying that they're hiding a subliminal message saying to join the Navy. Okay. So the commercial is done, and now they're just speaking in a foreign language. I'm not going to any further do that, okay? So I'm just going to take a step back. I am going to read some comments before I dive into that, see if you guys have anything that you want to contribute. Cargill, we already said he knows web. I like that. Hi, Tria. Haven't talked to you in a while. I know you're having a kid, though. I see your TikTok dances and your cool stuff that you do. Rock it. Like a television show that has an underlying message manufactured into the plot. Joshua Pilardi, absolutely yes. That is exactly what I want to get to. A television show that has an underlying message manufactured into the plot. Whether it's a message that spreads out over the season and is part of an overall plot line of the show, or even if it's just so much as an episode of Home Improvement where you see the family struggle and, young Jonathan Taylor Thomas learns a lesson and gives his mom a hug and a dad at the gives his mom and dad a hug at the end. It's propaganda. Okay? It's designed to control you and make you think and feel in a certain way. It's designed to manipulate you. It's designed to give you a thought or give you a feeling or give you an opinion that you did not come up with yourself. It's designed to circumnavigate your intellect and to have you believe something without telling you why you believe it. Okay? And it sets up a false premise to give you this information. So, laughing my ass off. Let's hear Eddie Sherman. I heard Rave at that. Oh, don't say that, Ed. I'm not going to make fun of Ray Vicalis publicly. Ray Vicalis is one of my oldest and longest tenured friends. And, I love Ray, and Ray is a good person. And I just want to say that. He actually has a podcast. He has a podcast with this gentleman named Eddie Sherman here. Drop a link to your podcast in the comments. Maybe you can go ahead and give them a listen. Tria Crazy, welcome to Being Woke. It's been in place since 1913. Cargill knows what he's talking about. Brent, I used to text Buddy, don't worry. Everyone smash the like button. I like that. Do you have pants on? Yes, I do. They're shorts with a drawstring. So these are not draws. Tria, are you sure? Propaganda is a way to manipulate people. Absolutely. Do TikTok live. Absolutely not. I prefer long form. I don't like short videos, and TikTok is a Chinese spy operation. BG just saw the titties. No, I didn't see the titties. What I actually saw was the nuke. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So what it was they were singing and they were flying in planes and they were, glorifying some sort of war, and they were, basically talking about how war is good because, again, it goes with that narrative of the only thing you're allowed to believe that propaganda is state-sponsored, patriotic, war-enabling manipulation when nothing could be further from the truth. It's all around you, okay? Real quick, if you've ever seen the movie They Live, and I know some of you has, I know for a fact Cargill has, I know for a fact that Ray Vicalis has, I know for a fact that Ed Sherman has, you're going to understand what I'm saying, and as I get into this, but it's in that clip, they were singing, and then they dropped the bombs on what looked like Middle Eastern people. And then when the bombs exploded, instead of seeing, broken, destroyed bodies in a destroyed city, they showed three beautiful women who were dressed in their things, in their garb with the thing, and they were singing, and they were doing all this, and they were in bikinis. And again, it's done to manipulate. The point of what it was saying was good, and it was a piece of propaganda that was done to make war seem fun, to make it seem like something that you want to take part in, and to make it seem like something that's victimless, okay? To make it seem like, war has no casualties and there's no downside. If you drop bombs, beautiful girls are going to come out of the wreckage, which is simply not true. But again, that's one example. It's not the primary example of what's going on here today in our country. So just saw the eyes light up. You just saw the titties. Josh, stop. Hello, friends, trolls, conservatives, and enablers. Lend BG your ears. I appreciate it. Tree, I miss you. Me too. Ha. Lou DeMarco, it's made to program you. 100%. Kenny. Brian, I wish I could stay working from home. I'll be back, but if I can catch the whole thing tonight, I recommend it. By then, you're going to have some links and whatnot. Plug. There we go. Works on it. Cargill works on all senses, touch, smell, sight, etc. That's how to get you to relate to the propaganda 100%. They manipulate your emotions. They make you comfortable. When you see it in a sitcom, when you see it on Home Improvement, or you see it on The Big Bang Theory, This is comfortable. These are people that you're comfortable with. This is a family. You feel like part of the family. You're learning lessons that these families are learning, and you're growing with these families, but it's manufactured issues. It's chosen. Let me ask everyone a question, okay? And I say this because I grew up in the era where when I come home from school, you'd get the late night block of between like 6 and 8. It was reruns of a bunch of old shows. You'd get a couple Simpsons, maybe a Home Improvement, maybe something else. Didn't you ever find it funny that on some of these nights, the themes of all of the shows would actually go together? Like, for instance, The Simpsons might start with a pregnancy episode, and then the next one, it would have to do with the baby, and then you'd go to Home Improvement, and it would have to do with the kids having a girlfriend, and then you'd go to the last one, and it would have to do with, finding a condom. And it all had to do with, young kids having sex and pregnancy and being sexually active as a young adult. I'm just using that as an example. But have you ever noticed that that's happened when you watch TV for a night, that the morals or the lessons learned from all of the shows happen to create a theme over the night? That's not done by accident. That's done by design. Okay? So we're going to go and we're going to get into news media propaganda in a second here, but I want to kind of pivot to the more important propaganda, and that's the propaganda, that's literally everywhere. Now, the reason that I referenced the movie They Live, okay, is because They Live is one of, in my opinion, one of the single most important pieces of American cinema ever made. And that's, you guys like, that's a stretch. You've lost all my credibility. Here's why I say this, okay? Because whether or not you believe that there are reptilian aliens walking among us disguised as humans, or you just simply believe that something's not right in the world and you don't quite know what it is and you can feel it, but you just can't see it, that's why They Live is important. Because They Live is a movie that came out, and I want to believe 1989. If you want to correct me, feel free to. Starring WWE Hall of Famer Roddy Piper, and another fantastic actor by the name of, I want to say it's Craig David, but it's not. It's something, his last name is David. And he's another amazing actor, and they're the stars of the movie. I'm going to think of the name in like 2 seconds. It's going to come to me as soon as I'm not on the spot. But and it also has one of the most legendary fight scenes in cinema history, by the way. But the premise of the movie is as follows, okay? Roddy Piper is basically a journeyman, a traveler, a homeless guy. We're going to call him whatever you call a wanderer. And he shows up to what looks like a construction site where people are living on the construction site. He asks for a job. They let him work. And, being a curious guy, well, actually, first thing that happens is, they're all sitting down, enjoying their little shanty town. And on their TV, you see, and then a signal breaks in. And there's an old man going, they're trying to control you. They're among you. They live. They want you to sleep. They don't want you to think for yourself. And you hear the guy going, God damn TV. Can you hit that TV? That's the third time this week they've broken in. So a few minutes later in the movie, Roddy Piper's walking through and he finds a box with some glasses in it. And, as he's finding the box, someone comes around the corner, finds him snooping. He takes spare glasses. He puts in his top pocket. He walks away. Okay. He runs, actually. Puts the box. He hides it and he runs. So you see him run out of the place and he walks around the corner. And as he's walking and you see what looks like, a New York City type big city with billboards and traffic lights and, businesses all over. And as soon as he goes and he puts these glasses on, all of a sudden, there is nothing but white billboards. And where it did say, Corona beer, enjoy the summertime, or whatever the hell Corona's advertisement campaign is, when you looked at it, it would say, stay asleep. And then you look over and it says, marry and reproduce. And then you look over and it says, do not question authority. And he's like, what? So he takes the glasses off and he sees everything was the way it was. So he puts them back on, right back to where we were. So he walks down and he walks to the local newsstand. He takes the glasses off, regular magazine. He puts the glasses on and he flips through the magazine. And every magazine is nothing but a white piece of paper with black text that simply says something like, obey, do not question authority, marry and reproduce. And he starts to be like, oh my God. And he runs around and he tells these people, hey man, you gotta put on these glasses, man. I need you to see what I'm seeing, you know? I've been around the block. I've been with Adrian Adonis. I need you to take a look what I'm looking at, man. It's a little crazy here, man. It's not the best Roddy Piper, but it's decent. And he doesn't talk like that in the movie. But he eventually goes and he finds, I want to say it's Vince David. It's not Larry David. It's David. If somebody wants to look up the name of the other actor, the guy who he has the fight scene with and They Live, do that. Drop the name in the comments because it's going to drive me crazy and I'm not going to do it myself. But so on and so forth. He finds his friend and he's like, you got to put on these glasses. You know, you got to put on the glasses. And he's like, bro, you got to stay away from me. They Live. The name of the movie is They Live. He's like, you got to put on the glasses, man. And sure enough, they have the most epic fight scene in the history of cinema. I believe it lasts like 6 or 7 minutes. Might even be longer. It might be a little shorter. Don't hold me on time. It's semantics. But they have a great fight scene. And at the very end, when this dude's all beat up, he's standing up and his nose is bleeding. He goes, look! And he puts the glasses on him. He forces them on his face. And he just goes, and his eyes are open. And he sees everything. Keith David. It's Keith David. Keith David and Roddy Piper. Thank you so much, Josh Gilardi. And all of a sudden, he's like, oh my God, I can see everything. So they go back, they get some glasses. You know, I'm not going to spoil the movie for you because I really think everyone should watch it. It's really important in trying to understand what's going on in the world today. I couldn't find a better example if I searched for 20 years on how to explain to people as with a visual aid in movie form exactly how people are being controlled today. But They Live is a great example. And it comes from everywhere. Everywhere. Okay? Now, the reason why I chose this topic today, other than the fact that it won completely fair, because I set up a Facebook poll where voting was the like button, and apparently everybody seemed to think that by suggesting a topic that they were voting for it, and they did not. And there were 2 votes cast, and 1 vote was for propaganda, which I added, and the other vote was for civil discourse, which, let's be honest, is going to make a boring fucking video. So I'm not going to do a video about it unless literally it got overwhelmingly requested. Then I would do a video about it. But until then, there are topics that I'm much more knowledgeable about that are much more interesting. Something like this, I feel, is a prime example. So propaganda being all around us is far more than political. And I'm going to address, I mean, there's so many avenues that I could go down. And I'm trying to stay away from the anti-Trump propaganda. And I'm trying to stay away from, you know, the mainstream media and how they lie and they push a narrative. We all know that stuff. You know, we can argue back and forth. And I'm going to do a separate video about that. I might even get into that into this video. But I'm going to save that stuff for more of a video on Trump. And this video is going to be an accompaniment to that video. This video is going to be a complement to that video. You know, I want to focus more on how propaganda affects culture. Okay? And I really feel part of me wants to tackle hip hop. Another part of me wants to tackle Hollywood. Another part of me wants to tackle social media. But what I think I'm going to go with, Ryan said, stay with the desensitization. Desensitization is his own form of propaganda. What desensitization is we're going to use Grand Theft Auto as an example. I love Grand Theft Auto. I bought it the day it came out. I bought it again for PlayStation 4. It's going to be the first game I play on my PlayStation 5. Okay? No questions asked. I'm going to get it. I can't wait to download it and see it running at 60 frames a second in 4K. I'm fucking excited. All right? But the problem is it does have a desensitizing propaganda property to it. It's more when you're playing Grand Theft Auto and you run around and you steal a car and you run bodies over and you kill people, it's not going to make you go out and do these things. Only a sociopath, like people say violent video games lead to children committing violence because studies show that children who engage in violence play violent video games at a high rate. But what they're not telling you is that children who have mental issues gravitate towards violent video games because they have mental issues and they like violence. I play violent video games and I'm a pacifist. Okay. I've been slapped in the face and put my hands behind my back. Okay. So it's really an issue of when you're talking about desensitizing people, it's something that happens over a long period of time. And I'm going to give you a great example of it, okay? The desensitization of the sexualization of children, okay? We all know that pedophilia is a very hot topic, for me specifically, but also, you know, lately in the news with Maxwell being arrested, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, obviously. So the desensitization of the sexualization of children goes back for a very long time. If you remember, most of you don't remember, but back in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was legal to marry a girl at 14 or 16 years old. I say this because my grandmother was married at, I believe, 14 years old and had her first child and was married to someone who was like 19 or 20. You know, so she was literally a baby when she was married and began having kids and was treated as an adult. Through time, we put an end to that practice because we realized that girls that young, just like men that young, don't have the ability to make responsible decisions that affect the rest of their lives. We've decided as a society that the age that we allow people to have the right to make decisions that affect the rest of their lives is 18 years old. So anything before 18 years old that could potentially be a life-altering decision, we don't give the freedom to children to make those decisions. Whether it's tattoos, whether it's gambling, whether it's sexualization. Obviously, people get pregnant and have kids, so I can't say we don't allow children to have kids. But what I can say is we don't allow children to be sexually active. I mean, there's no debating that. You know, the lowest age of consent in this country, to my knowledge, and again, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, is 16 years old, and that's in some areas. And even at 16 years old, I believe you're only allowed to have sex with a minor. You're not allowed to have sex with an adult. So you can't be a 45-year-old man picking up 16-year-old girls. That's not right. But if you're a 17-year-old kid and you have sex with a 16-year-old, I don't think they can bust you for that. But the point I'm trying to make, and I have a friend sending me messages. I really wish I knew if he was Facebooking me messages because he's watching this or if he's having a side conversation, because I'd love to include him in the conversation. But because he's not in the chat, I'm ignoring him. That's what those sounds are. But the sexualization of children, it goes back. We're going to say it goes back forever. But the desensitization of it, I'm going to show you a few good examples. Who remembers Honey Boo Boo? We all remember Honey Boo Boo, okay? Honey Boo Boo was the most famous person that came out of a line of television shows involved with child beauty pageants, okay? Now, on the surface, all right, you think, oh, child beauty pageants, that's an interesting show. It's a show about crazy parents and the things that parents do to try to make their children successful. That's how the show is packaged and sold to you. You know, I don't even remember what the fuck the name of the show is that Honey Boo Boo came from, okay? But I know that that's how it was packaged because it's about the parents and it's about the parents' competitive aspect. But do you know what they're actually doing? they're showcasing on television in marathons shows of small children being sexualized, put on stage, and glorified. Why? Because it's made to desensitize you to think that this is acceptable behavior. It is acceptable behavior to look at children in this way because that's like that show we watched with Honey Boo Boo. So that's okay. That's normal because they do that on TV, right? Wrong. I'm not telling you child beauty pageants are wrong. What I'm telling you is glorifying them and normalizing the concept of sexualizing children is wrong. Now let's fast forward. Within the past few years, I'm sure you guys have heard, and I don't have the name. Again, if you guys want to look it up, if you know what I'm talking about, feel free to drop it in the comments. But there's a child who is, I'm not going to call him transgender for lack of being wrong, for the risk of being wrong. I'm going to refer to this child as a cross-dresser or drag. I believe he is a drag queen. I believe he's the 10-year-old or 8-year-old drag queen. I want to say his name is Brandon, but I might be wrong about that. I probably am wrong about that. But this young boy was featured in news stories all across the mainstream media and the legacy media and print media and shared on social media to no end. That's how I know about him. And if you know about him, you're going to end up posting a link into the thing. I can actually search real quick. Hold on. Very simple search for child drag queen. Now, I'm using Google to look this up because they're normalizing it. Desmond Naples, okay? Desmond Naples. And I'm going to post a link of what I just searched for. Oh, no, I'm going to post his Wikipedia in the chat if I can. Right comment. Yes, I can. Okay, so as you guys are listening to me, take a look at who and what this person represents. It is, oh, that didn't work out so well. Here it is. There's his name, Desmond Naples. Okay, this is a child drag queen who was dragged through the media. Okay, and Josh says it's a dangerous thing to Google. You're damn right it is, because when you're Googling it, you're probably looking up the truth about it. If you don't want to Google it, feel free to use DuckDuckGo.com. It is a private browser. They keep your history private, and they also don't censor their search results. So DuckDuckGo.com. Not DuckDuckGoose, Robert Giarusso. But they glorify this child drag queen in the media to desensitize people to the idea of sexualizing children. Why do I know this? Because you are a fucking child. You should not be sexualized. You cannot have sex. You should not be presenting yourself to be attractive to the opposite sex. And you should not be concerned with changing your gender or gender bending because you have much more basic things to learn, like how to tie your fucking shoes or learning how to read. Okay? But the news media pushes this. And the reason that they push this is because at the end of the day, there is a push to normalize not only child sexuality, but the end goal is going to be to normalize pedophilia. Now, I am jumping on my Facebook. I posted an article yesterday concerning child sexualization. I can give you the name of the article. I'm scrolling my Facebook right now. This is not the cannibal article. This is the article that is entitled Fucking No, which is how I labeled it. Gotta love my brutal honesty. Don't like to make threats, but I do like to tell you exactly how I feel about shit. I'm not able to share the link for some reason without opening it, so I'm just going to open it and share the link. But again, we have an example here now where just to show you the progression of propaganda. Many years ago, it started out as child beauty pageants. It turned into child drag queens who dance in front of adults and sexualize themselves. And now it's turned into the rebranding of pedophiles as minor attracted person. And they are trying to get rights and privileges alongside the LBGT community. Okay? And this is fucking sick and it's disgusting. But there are people, maybe even one of you in the room right now, who will support this because it has been normalized to you. Probably in ways I haven't even mentioned. Okay? So, propaganda can be used for something very, very dangerous. It can be used for something good. Saving little Sonny. Okay? In the arms of an angel. I don't know all the words. I just know that line. But it can be used for something very negative as well, which is literally grown adults fucking small children. Your children. If you don't fucking watch out and you don't pay attention and you don't make sure that you're aware and alert of this shit. Now I'm going to pivot a little bit because I don't want this whole video to be, me talking about pedophiles, because that's not, we're going to make, trust me, I promise you, we're going to make a video about the pedophiles. I promise you, we're going to make a video about Epstein. I promise you, we're going to make a video about Pizzagate specifically. All this stuff is going to be done. But to even begin to unravel any of those topics, we have to know how we got to this point. And how we got to this point is the use of indoctrination through the media using propaganda. Now, if you're unaware of what propaganda is, if you're unaware what indoctrination is the concept of basically the same thing as propaganda, but it's done through people in a more natural way. So let me give you an example of what indoctrination is, okay? I'm going to use... I want to get off of child sexualization. I'm going to switch over to racism. I'm going to switch over to the black community, okay? Again, because it's a hot topic and it's something that I've been talking about and it's something I'm passionate about. And to be honest, I feel like it's the most evil use of indoctrination today. It makes me fucking sick to my stomach when you see what's going on with this. But indoctrination is the concept of when a black man and a black woman have a black child, okay? And their family is living wherever they're living, whether they're a wealthy family or whether they're a family living in poverty, because there's no way to assume either one, because you know what I believe, that there are people of every race in every situation. We have elite black people, Spanish people, Asian people, Egyptian people, Lithuanian people, United Arab Emirates people. I mean, literally every country you could think of, we have people in the top class and the bottom class, okay? But the concept of indoctrinated racism comes from when parents will say to their children, and honestly, I don't even want to reveal the names of the people that I'm talking about, but I heard this happen to a child that I care about so much, and I don't even think that the parents knew that I could hear them. I think they thought I was outside and I was in the other room, and it took every ounce of my fiber to not say something because I didn't want to disrespect them and insult their parenting. But it was heartbreaking what I heard. But I heard someone explaining to their children, our president is a very mean person. Do you see how you look different than he does? Well, he doesn't like people that look different than him. And he's teaching this to a fucking child. A child that can't tie their shoes. A child that doesn't know how to cook food for themselves. A child that still uses a rubber-tipped fork. And they're teaching this children that there are people out there that they've never met that hate them because they look different. That's so evil. And I don't think that the parent that was doing this did it intentionally to be evil. I think she thought she was trying to, I gave something away there, educate her child, but it just made me sick to my stomach because I couldn't imagine as a child if my parents raised me and said, when you get older, you're never going to succeed because this world is built for you to not succeed in. That's indoctrination. Your parents might have told you that. Also, black people say, hey, man, cops are looking to get you. Don't get yourself caught by the police because they're killing black people every day. Those cops are looking to murder black people. Indoctrination. If you're teaching something to a child that you have no factual evidence to back up and you're embedding it in their brains without teaching them why, that's called indoctrinating. It happens in college as well. It happens in school, okay? School indoctrinates people. It's almost the same thing as propaganda, but indoctrination has to happen on a one-to-one level where propaganda is done through media, okay? Propaganda is indoctrinating you, I guess. You could say it that way. Propaganda is the tool. Indoctrination is the effect. Propaganda is the gun. Indoctrination is the bullet. Maybe that makes a little bit more sense as far as what indoctrination is and how it relates to propaganda. That's probably the best way that I could describe it, okay? So, people use propaganda. People are victims of propaganda, first off, us people. But the people who make this, ask yourself this question. Who makes your favorite movies? Who makes your favorite TV shows? Who owns your favorite sports leagues? Who writes your favorite books? And then ask yourself this question. Who pays those people? Who owns those companies? I'll give you a hint. It's the same people deciding on the narrative of the propaganda put into these things. And spoiler alert, it has to do with Alphabet Soup, 3-letter organizations, okay? Part of what my boy Ryan Pitts was talking about yesterday on here is called Operation Mockingbird. And Operation Mockingbird is a declassified CIA, I don't know, whatever the hell you'd call it, initiative, I guess, which basically states that they're going to invade the media. It basically states that CIA operatives are going to leave the CIA, get jobs in the various types of media, Hollywood, music, movies, legacy news media, print media, wherever other kind of media that I'm not realizing exists right now. Advertising media. Perfect. That's the other type. Advertising media. Okay? These people are going to get jobs in all these different fields, and then someone from their organization is going to push out a narrative, and their individual jobs is to spread this narrative through their media reach. Okay? That's the basic concept of what Operation Mockingbird is, if I'm remembering it correctly, which I believe that I am. Okay? Now, I'm going to take a quick break now that I explain that, because I realize there's a lot of comments that I didn't address, how they get buttered up to accept the propaganda. You know, exactly. He's probably referencing something I said. Woody Allen groomed a kid to marry. That's a fact, Ray. But the Dems want to allow 16-year-olds to vote, which is exactly why I'm adamantly against that. The reason Democrats are for it is because the schools are indoctrinating the children to have a liberal bias, but they don't know enough to see through this stuff and make their own intelligent decisions, which is why the Dems are pushing for them to do this, okay? Now, any information as far as why that's a good idea is classified as propaganda. Go ahead and search for 16-year-olds voting and read the article yourself. The person's going to try to convince you. I don't even need an article. I don't even need an article. I know what it's going to say. It's going to try to convince you of a bunch of reasons of why 16-year-olds are mature and that they're able to make this decision and that it's a good idea to allow 16-year-old children to vote. Okay? It's not true. Okay? Going back down, do you have a delay on? I should have some kind of delay. It's just natural. You sound like you're talking about Rami. I wasn't, though. That's burnt. Yes, probably. I don't remember what you were talking about. It's a dangerous thing to Google. Absolutely. And eating humans. It is happening. I also posted something about cannibalism. Very well written post by a young lady. I highly suggest for everyone who reads that post to copy the text and send it in an email to someone you care about and then save that email. Because if that post gets taken down, that's a whole lot of research that's going to go away forever. What did I miss? A whole lot, Tree. A whole lot. Rewind to the beginning. Fuck the pedos. I agree. Fuck the pedos. I hope absolutely everyone is like, fuck the pedos, except for children. Because if they do it, the pedos get what they want. He is wearing shorts. We Live movie. We Live movie. TV show propaganda along the cross of a season. Child cross-dressers currently. Oh, okay. I get it. He's getting me back on track. All pedos should be killed with public execution. I am reading a comment, and I am not going to say anything that I feel will incite violence because that is how people get removed from social media. I am going to say all pedos should be held to the highest standard of justice that the law will possibly allow. Fuck that. Actually, we moved on to people accepting pedophilia, which is correct. And there are people that accept pedophilia. I've actually had a conversation with close personal friends of mine who happen to be liberals nonetheless, and they justified why pedophiles are not the lowest form of humanity that there is. I was absolutely shocked. By the end of the conversation, I was just sitting there like this. And they were like, what's the matter? And I'm like, I can't believe that you guys are defending pedophiles. How are you defending pedophiles? How is this happening? You know, but it happened. And people got manipulated to believe that it's okay to defend pedophiles. Oh, it's a mental illness. You know what else is a mental illness? Do you know what else is a mental illness? Go ahead. Somebody say it. It begins with an L and ends with liberalism. But yes, I don't have any children. Thank God. That is correct, right? Thank God. Rob, I can't wait. That's for the Pizzagate thing. Good. When? How do you feel about people comparing pedophilia to the LGBTQ community? I kind of addressed it a little bit. It works both ways. The pedophiles are trying to normalize their behavior by squeezing themselves into the LGBT, agenda, but I don't think it's fair to your average gay person, your average lesbian, your average bisexual person, even your average adult transsexual person who made that decision themselves. I don't think it's fair to those people because whereas pedophilia is inherently wrong, if you hitch your wagon to someone who isn't inherently wrong. And there may be some people who have strong religious beliefs that do believe that stuff is wrong. I'm not here to get into an ideological debate about homosexuality. I have good friends that are homosexual. I love my homosexual friends, male and female. I have never had let me see. Before I state that, to my knowledge, I don't think I've ever had a gay person wrong me in any way. I don't believe so. I don't believe I've ever been. So I have no issues, and to be honest with you, there's two types of gay people. And I will say this wholeheartedly. And someone made a meme about it and I absolutely loved it. But there are gay people who are normal fucking people who just happen to prefer the company of the opposite sex. And then there are hyper-sexualized, hyper-vocalized gay people who want to get like tattoos of penises on the palms of their hand, and their entire existence is wrapped up into their sexuality. And that's not normal. Those people, I don't even know if they're actually gay or if they're a victim of gay propaganda, I want to say, for lack of a better term. Like the gay movement. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know people who are gay who their whole existence is actually football. I know people who are gay who their whole existence is working hard and making money. And you wouldn't even know that they were gay unless they decided to share it with you. Not because they're embarrassed, but because it's their personal life. And when they're not spending time with their significant other, their main focus is being a normal person and not being a hypersexualized person, you know? But it's the same thing for straight people. We've all seen the woman who walks out dressed like a trashy whore, tits hanging out, ass hanging out, shirt that comes up to here, nothing but tiny shorts, butt hanging out. Those people are hypersexualized heterosexual people. Homosexual people can do the same thing. So I'm not judging them for being gay. I'm judging them for being hypersexualized. But I don't agree with anyone latching their bandwagon onto anyone else's cause, because to be quite frankly, that's called intersectionality, and it's done to basically further manipulate people. Intersectionality is designed where black people are a struggling minority and gay people are a struggling minority. So if we're both minorities, this is where our cause meets. So let's fight together because we're fighting oppression. But you get lost in the cause that way. You need everything to be individualized, you know, and that's just from my opinion. Going back, Ravicals, Ed Sherman word, but you didn't drop a link to the fucking podcast. I think it's three guys and some brews or something similar to that. They talk about, metal music. Someone told me to check my privilege. Here's my favorite thing. Someone told me to check my privilege that white people get more than black people. But when I was a single mom and went to get food stamps, sweetheart, there is no such thing as white privilege. It doesn't exist. If it did exist, it ran out the day I was born, because I don't have any white privilege. I don't. I could go on for an hour about all the terrible things that happened to me, but I've done that yesterday. And I didn't even get into terrible things. The purpose of my video yesterday was the fact that you need to never let bullies win and do not submit to the mob. But I have ADHD like a motherfucker, and I basically gave you an impassioned speech all over the place. But the purpose of today's video is propaganda, and white privilege is another one of those things. This entire concept of racism is spread through propaganda. Truth be told, I'm going to give you one last amazing example of propaganda, and it's the most controversial one I can give. The two magic words that trigger everybody: George, you know what's coming next, Floyd. Let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you. When I saw this video, at first, I didn't even notice that it was a white cop, black person thing, okay? When I first watched it, it was, oh, that's fucked up. Police brutality. That's kind of scary. You know, what a shitty person. What a shitty cop. I hope that guy goes to jail. I don't want to believe that all cops are like that. And actually, my true first thought was, that guy's a piece of shit. That's the kind of guy that picks up hookers, rapes them, and then sets them free instead of arresting them. My opinion, because that's what scumbag cops do. Cops who abuse their power don't just abuse it in one way, they abuse it in every way, okay? But the reason George Floyd is propaganda is because they used it to sensationalize racism. Spoiler alert, okay? If a black man and a white man have a disagreement, the cause of the first instinct, the first thing that you should think when you're thinking of, I wonder why they're having a disagreement, is not racism. But on television, show me an example where a white person and a black person can disagree without racism becoming an issue. I mean, let's be honest. For 8 years when Barack Obama was president, if you were a white person and you questioned him or disagreed with him, you were labeled as a racist. This is not correct thinking. This is not correct thinking. And not only that's done as cultural Marxism to silence you, but it's more so to always get people to look at what is skin deep. Now, I'm going to explain to you why they push racism so hard. and why they focus so much on our racial differences and on our skin deep differences. What are we doing right now? We are, I'm doing something a little different than you all are. I'm speaking to you, but we're all here involved in this conversation about propaganda, about manipulation, okay? Because propaganda is manipulation, okay? And we're speaking about propaganda, and we all have something in common. We all want to learn. We all want to know the truth. We all want to know what's going on in this crazy fucking world that we live in. And we're all trying to figure this out and get answers. And if we all focused on what we had in common, we would have no reason to fight one another. We would have no reason to have debates and dispute one another because we'd all be on the same page. Instead, cultural Marxism likes to hold you to an ideology and blame you or label you for thinking in a certain way outside of the groupthink. And the main one is race. And the reason being is because you can see it, you can't hide it, and you can't change it. Okay? Black people gonna be black, white people gonna be white. It's that simple. Asian people gonna be Asian, Spanish people gonna be Spanish. Despite what Sean King wants you to know, he will never be a black person. He is a white person, okay? He's pretending to be black. No matter what Elizabeth Warren wants you to know, she is a white person. She is not a Native American. You cannot change who you are as far as how you look and your past, but you can change how you think. You can evolve how you think. And that's something that you need to remember. We're all the same, and we all relate in the fact that we just want to get through, man. We just want to live in this world. We just want to be happy. Man, the world is good people. The world is not bad. The world is not made up of bad people. It's made up of people who are troubled sometimes, yes. But those people, guess what racist people are? Victims of the propaganda. You know why I say racism's not real? Of course racism's real. I've seen racism, okay? You've all seen racism. It's real because it exists, but it's not real because it's not natural. It's not natural, okay? Animals cannot be a victim to propaganda. If you take 10 golden retrievers and 1 black lab and you put them in a giant plot of land, they are all going to socialize with the black lab and treat him equally. Even though he looks different and he's a different breed. They are going to accept him as part of the pack because that is what nature tells you to do. Nature tells you to group together to survive. That's why before society came along and we had a hunter-gatherer world, how does the hunter-gatherer world work? Not individualistic, but as a tribe. Not as an immense society, but you group together with those close to you and you work together to survive. Manipulation and propaganda have done nothing but try to separate us. Now, the reason why this point is important is because racism is not natural. It is a learned behavior. Someone asked Morgan Freeman, and it was the greatest response and the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. They asked Morgan Freeman, what are we going to do about the racism today in America? And he goes, stop talking about it. And he sat there quietly. And the guy didn't know what to say. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, stop talking about it. It's never going to die if you don't let it die. You got to let it go away. And I'm paraphrasing a bit at the end. But that was his base message. Continuing to push the racial divide is the actual racism in this country. The KKK is not the racism in this country. White nationalism is not even really a thing, okay? White nationalism is less of a subset than bestiality, okay? There are probably more people into bestiality than into white nationalism or the KKK. That's how small the subsect is. But the race hustlers who are pushing the racially divisive propaganda is not Donald Trump, is not conservatives, is not me on social media, okay? It is the media, the legacy media, the mainstream news media, okay? Why? Because every single time you turn it on, they see George Floyd, they see a white cop. They don't sit there and say the realistic end of the situation. Here's a really shitty cop who fucked up. Here's a piece of shit cop that should be fired and go to jail. They don't say that. They choose to not say that. Instead, they choose to say, racism is running wild, brother. What are you black people gonna do, man, when racism and the racist police rumble all over you? Ah! That's what they try to sell you. But it's not real. It's not real. It's not real. The reality of the situation is he's a bullshit cop whose balls got too big for his uniform, and this guy died. And now it's coming out that, his lawyer is claiming that the full unedited tapes are going to reveal that George Floyd was saying he couldn't breathe from the moment they showed up. And the only reason his body wound up on the ground is because he asked to get out of the car and lay down. We'll see. I don't know if it's true. I don't believe the lawyer of someone who I just said was a piece of shit cop who would pick up a hooker and rape her. But don't you find it interesting that they haven't released the body cam footage with audio yet? Don't you find it interesting that if there wasn't a narrative where they wanted to push racism, that they would release the body cam with the audio? And at that point, you would immediately see that whether or not it was racially based, or at least you'd have a better idea. I think the odds of the George Floyd murder being racially based are less than 3%. Okay. I don't know how that works into 1 over 100, but I feel it's less than 3%. Because, again, when I see a black person and a white person having a disagreement, I don't think racism. I use my brain. I say, did that white person slap the black person? Did the black person throw something at the white person? Is the white person mistaking the identity of the black person? Because he looks like, is the black person mistaking the identity of the white? Who knows? Who fucking knows? But don't assume racism. Racism is never to be assumed, okay? Because guess what? If I treated everyone concerning pedophilia like the media treats every issue concerning racism, I would assume that every single liberal is a pedophile. I would assume they are a card-carrying, hard drive full of child pornography having pedophile. And I don't believe that. I believe that most liberals are good people who are victims of this right here, what we're talking about, which is brainwashing and propaganda. So I'm going to begin to wrap up. We did this for longer than yesterday. An hour and 20 minutes we're going on. I want to finish going over what is in the comments. So I'm not just done yet. I'm going to address all the comments before I get off. Someone told me to check my white privilege. That is absolutely bullshit, man. There's no white privilege. One other thing I want to go through, too, is, a few things. First of all, people are like, oh, it's harder for black people to be successful than white people. Generational wealth, I've heard. That's not true, because when black people come over here from Africa with nothing but the clothes on their back, literally, okay, and they come in with a green card, and they come to work, and they spend years, and they earn their citizenship, and they own a business, and they become successful, that's not due to generational wealth. It's due to hard work. It's due to what me and my friend call that immigrant mentality, okay? That immigrant mentality. Because in all reality, Americans, because of the ideological subversion, were raised soft and entitled. Americans believe that things should be given to them. Americans believe that they don't have to work to earn things. And not Americans. Not Americans. Not all Americans. But some Americans. Most oftentimes younger, maybe millennials. But you know who doesn't have that? Immigrants. Immigrants have a hardworking mentality. You know why? Because where they come from, No one gets anything for free. And when they sit there going, man, I hate this life. I wish I could get out of here. Someone goes, hey, man, if you go to America, you can work hard and make something of yourself instead of working here and staying broke. And they say, you know what, I'm going to do that. And they go to America. That's what the American dream is, folks. That's what the American dream. It ain't just the American dream, Dusty Rhodes, daddy. Your hand is touching my hand. It ain't just the American dream. The real American dream is coming from the son of a plumber to being at the top of the world. Okay? Making something out of nothing. Don't forget that. That's what makes America great. That's what makes America beautiful. That you can make something out of nothing. Don't let them tell you any different. Okay? Oh, and one other thing. And also, too, when we're talking about white privilege, oh, well, you're white. You don't experience the racism that I go through. Hey, listen, for every black person that can give me 10 examples of people mistreating him because of his race, I'm going to give you 10 examples of asshole people who mistreat me for other reasons that are not my race. And I think you can see what I'm getting at here, because the bottom line is assholes are going to be assholes. The same asshole that would do something fucked up to a black person because they're black is the same person that's going to do something fucked up to me because the way I talk, because I'm wearing glasses, because my hair looks a little stupid, because I fucking go like this with my arm or whatever the fuck it might be. Okay? The same assholes that do shitty things to black people do shitty things to me too, and I'm white. White people are not protected from bad actions. Bad actors are the cause, good actors are the recipients. But the bottom line is it's actions, okay? Racism is just an excuse that an asshole person will give himself to misbehave, okay? So going back on now, I was given $76 while the lady next to me got $500 for the same amount of kids. They will believe that forever. Watch Out of the Shadows documentary. He's actually wrong. It's called Out of Shadows. And I'll post that link in the comments thread when you're done if you're watching this. Absolutely tremendous documentary. Really gives a great outlook on everything. There's another one, too, about the news. It was done by, I want to say it was Mike Cernovich. It might not have been Mike Cernovich, though. It was something about the news. I'll post it in there. I don't remember what it is right now, but I'll make sure that I share it. Josh Pilardi, social. Also advertising media, but I appreciate that. Same with kids eating Tide Pods. 3 kids probably ate Tide Pods. I don't know how many it was. They turned it into an epidemic. What, did they want to see how many kids would eat Tide Pods? Come on now. Why are you spreading that narrative? Say it once, don't eat Tide Pods. Tell the company, package your shit differently. Put out a PSA that very seriously says, children have been injured and killed from eating Tide Pods. We strongly suggest that you don't eat Tide Pods and use them only to clean your clothes. Thank you for your time. And you move on. You don't sensationalize it. Okay? I would assume being a Twitch guy, you would know how live stream interaction works. But you would also assume that me being an ADHD guy, that I get on tangents and I have to finish what I'm saying or else I get distracted. Facebook post, Nick Grout. I don't know what it is. I'm afraid to click on it, but we'll check it out. Oh, no, can't do that. Almost ended my video, folks. Let me see. Here we go. Open in a new tab. Let's see what his Facebook post is. Common sense conservatism. I'm going to like it right now, and I'm going to follow right now. I don't even know if they're good. We'll find out later. I just want to make sure that I'm able to view this later. Okay, so continuing to move on. Propaganda doesn't forget. American privilege. I like that. That's what it is. Because, yeah. You know what? I like that. American privilege. Ain't that the fucking truth? Because at the end of the day, as Americans, okay, we have tremendous privilege. Oh my God, that's where the privilege really starts. That's where the privilege starts, people. Look at China. These people can't play video games. These people can't have a device without it being hard linked to them and their GPS being tracked at all times. They have a health tracker on their phones. They have no freedom. Venezuela doesn't even have money or food. This is real life. America is the most privileged country on the planet for the average person that is born. There's no debating that. Hello, Americans. You could even do a subtopic about the tools of propaganda and how to watch them. Yes, that's kind of what I wanted to do if I was going to be able to show you guys the screen. Unfortunately, since I can't pull up news articles and do that, I'm going to have to do that in an edited video. That's going to be more of a YouTube video once I'm doing this to kind of, I'm going to be honest here. Let's be real. I'm new to this. I'm new to this sitting here and speaking in front of a camera for an extended period of time. This is a new avenue, okay? And the reason why I'm doing it is because, A, I want to express myself. I need to express myself. But the other reason that I'm doing it is because, I want to discuss my ideas. I want to get feedback from you guys. And quite honestly, I want to see what you like and what you don't like about my presentation. But my end goal is to use this computer that I'm working on to learn how to edit these videos with clips and pictures and, have a green screen and be able to put something over here and have a video playing while I'm talking and maybe a picture on this side of me and do something like that. But we're going to have to get there because that's going to take a little work. This was as easy as hitting play and talking. I know the subject matter. I just don't know the technology yet. So, and I'm trying to be independent. I'm trying not to have a second person who has to help me with all this shit. But one last thing I do want to address, propaganda-wise, that I saw here about social media, about advertising media, also being a heavy source of propaganda when it comes to the manipulation of people. Think about how quick it was from when this pandemic broke to it was like less than a week that you were starting to see the commercials having to do with wear your mask. And I'm saying, Little Caesars commercials talking about Pizza Hut being like, we're all in this together. That was the big thing. We're all in this together. And I get it. It was scary. I was right there. Go back on my Facebook page. The people that know me know I was calling them every single day. You better not be going outside. Wear your fucking mask. Don't get sick. I'm not dealing with my friends dying. I'm not losing my friends to this fucking Chinese lab-created biological weapon. I'm not having and by the way, I still very much believe that it is a biological weapon created in a laboratory. And I want everybody to say along with me. It is the Chinese biological weapon virus because it was made in China. It was made in China. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. But with that being said, yeah, it was very quick. Everyone was saying we're in this together. And you know why they're saying that? Because again, it's propaganda. They want you to think the world is different. The world has changed. Everything's different now. It's different. It's changed. We're in it together. We're home. It's changed. But at the end of the day, it's the same fucking world. And there's a coronavirus. And Ray Vicalis, instantly coronavirus, Amazon Prime docs within a week or so. Yeah, of course. I mean, granted, it was around since November, December is when it was discovered. It started to be reported by the Epic Times in January, which is when I picked it up. And from January to March, no one in the American media talked about it other than to call Donald Trump a racist. Again, propaganda. Donald Trump cuts off travel from China to protect America from potentially infected people traveling here from China. But when you read the news article, it says Donald Trump and his next act of racism furthers his longtime agenda of racism and division by stopping immigration from China and neighboring countries. I don't know if that's exactly what they said, but that's most likely what they said. Because again, they're making a lot of assumptions. Oh, and one last thing. This is the most important piece of propaganda of all of them. Late night television shows and comedy. Okay? One of the main keys of propaganda is to mix it in with humor. Now, I don't know if you guys used to enjoy late night television, Jimmy Fallon, fucking Jimmy Kimmel, whatever the fuck these people are. Whether it's Trevor Noah or Jon Stewart on the fucking Tonight Show, or if you're old school like me and you're like Letterman, Leno, or maybe even Johnny Carson if you're a little more old school than me, But I used to enjoy my late night television. But now I see it for what it is, which is a propaganda fest. they take issues that are not true. They take something happens, a propaganda story is created around it. So Trump stops travel. New story, Trump is racist and he stopped travel from China. Now you go to the late night talk show, and the late night talk show, oh, and the newest story about our president today looks like he cut off immigration from China. He was speaking and he was, whatever the fuck it is. I don't even know because I don't fucking make propaganda, But the bottom line is they take false information and then they make jokes about it. And the people who don't watch the news, they hear these comedians make these jokes and they think that these things actually happened without ever claiming they happened, without being a valid news source, without being a journalist. A late night talk show host, through jokes, is able to manipulate people by providing them false information under the guise of comedy, which is another pure, tried and true example of propaganda. Watch your late night talk show tonight, wherever it may be. Listen to the monologue. Pay attention to comedy. Listen to any sort of political comedy, especially bashing on Trump. Especially those of you who know what Trump actually has done and what he hasn't done, and you could see it. Help me explain it. Now, with that being said, I'm wrapping up. I want to finish the comments here. I got some interesting ones. All right. Could even do a subtopic about the tools of propaganda. Yes, I could. We're here to help with the feedback. Thank you very much, Mr. Pitts. Instantly coronavirus docs. Yes. Kung Flu or the Wuhan Weezer, I call it. Okay, I like both of those. And I'll tell you why I don't think either one is racist. The Kung Flu, someone tried to tell me that this is indisputably racist. And I'm going to tell you why it's not, and here's why. Kung Fu, if you know anything about China, you know that China is extremely proud of its heritage. But not only its heritage, they are extremely proud of Bruce Lee, and they are extremely proud of how much their culture is tied in with martial arts. So much so that, and if you know the name of the guy, please share it. I'm going to take a video about the guy, and I'm going to share it here afterwards. But there was a gentleman from China who trained in mixed martial arts, okay? And there's a concept, and this is actually a great watch. I advise all of you to go on Instagram and look up an account called Mick Dojo, which basically just exposes fake martial arts. When we were kids and we heard Kempo Karate and Ninjutsu and Ninja and all this stuff and Taekwondo, it's all fake martial arts. It's bullshit. There's like 4 martial arts that work. Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, Wrestling, Thai boxing. That's it. You could say Shotokan Karate because there's been 1 or 2 tremendously successful mixed martial artists who use that as their primary martial arts. But they're also black belts in Judo and black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. These are the 4 martial arts that work. Wrestling, Judo, Thai boxing, and wrestling. I'm sorry, wrestling, Judo, Thai boxing, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Everything else is a fake martial art. Wushu and Wing Chun and all these different things. If you can't do a martial art at full speed, at full strength for practice, it's not real. It's not real. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why these are the martial arts that are real, because individually you can practice them full force on one another, and they're the ones that are the most successful in mixed martial arts. So anyways, moving forward, there was a Chinese guy, because I'm getting to the Kung Flu. There was a Chinese guy who learned mixed martial arts, and he was like, hey, all this martial arts shit and all these masters and all these Buddhist senseis, it's bullshit. And they were like, absolutely not. We'll fight you. This master challenges you. This motherfucker went around China and knocked out like 7 or 8 martial arts masters, the top masters most respected in the entire country. He fucking obliterated them. It looked like it looked like a crime. It was that severe. It looked like a fucking crime. Okay? And they shunned this guy so bad that they've basically taxed his wages and made it where it's near impossible for him to be able to survive and thrive in his country, because what he did is he hurt their national pride and their national identity by showing the weaknesses of these martial arts. So the reason why I said this is because I don't believe Kung Flu is racist. I believe it's funny, but the Chinese people are very much intertwined with Kung Fu. It is a reality. Okay? Someone tried to tell me it was racist because, and their exact words were, if the flu came from Africa and you called it the watermelon flu. And I unpacked that for a second, and I said that's incorrect, and here's why. First of all, the stereotype associating black people with watermelons actually has to do with Africans in this country and freed slaves in this country growing and selling watermelons as a business trying to live the American dream shortly after slavery ended. It has nothing to do with Africa. So it's based on a racist premise. Associating watermelon and associating black people has a negative connotation. There is no negative connotation between Chinese people and Kung Fu. Therefore, Kung Flu is not racist. You know what else would be not racist? If the flu came from Australia, and I made this one up and I love it, and we called it the kangaroo flu. If we called it the kangaroo flu, that's not racist. You know why? Because kangaroos are found primarily in Australia. Australia is known for kangaroos. Therefore, if we called it the kangaroo flu, it would be funny and appropriate and not insulting. The reason they're teaching you that it's insulting to call the flu the China virus, the China flu, or the Kung flu is because the Chinese Communist government, and everyone knows communists are the number one pushers of propaganda in the world because no one would ever accept communism on the reality of it alone. You have to be sold on communism through bullshit propaganda. So when it comes to that, China has their influence over the American media because communists are communists. They're working together. They're trying to turn the left today in today's political environment is trying to turn this country into a communist country, and they're working hand in hand with China. And China created this virus, and what they don't want to happen is they don't want America to think China is evil, because then America will think that communism is evil. You are starting to see this now. If the virus was from America, if the virus was from Donald Trump's home, they would call it the Trump virus and it would not be racist. If the virus came from Canada and it wasn't a biological weapon, they would not say it was racist to call it the Canadian virus. But because China is a communist country, they created it in a laboratory and they're trying to protect their image. It's racist to remind people that the virus comes from China, which is why Trump was so aggressive every day when he was doing those things, being like, yeah, from China, the Chinese virus from China. He was so aggressive because he doesn't want you to forget. He wants to take control of the narrative, and that's why I love Donald Trump. But we'll get to Trump in a different section. Big trouble in Little China, Ray says. Yes, there's big trouble in Little China because we're taking all our big businesses from Little China and bringing them back to big America. Nick Pernardo, I'd love to have you on the podcast if you're ever interested. Nikki P's Conundrum, cheap plug, by the way. You can see him on Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, and iHeartRadio, etc. It's on all the major platforms. Thank you very much for the invitation, Nick. If the chips fall in the right place, I just might take you up on that opportunity and do it. I would absolutely love to. I'd want to speak with you on the phone, find out a little bit about what you're about. I'd maybe check out a few episodes and listen to it. I'm going to be honest. I don't think anyone would want to hear me talk if they couldn't see me, except for Brent Nadell. Thank you, Brent. He always used to get so mad when I would call him. He hated hearing my voice. Now he loves it and he signs up for it. It's a beautiful thing. But I'm not opposed to doing your podcast. I'm not opposed to being a guest on anyone's podcast. So, I'll hit like on that. I'll do it right now in real time. But okay, they drink baby's blood. Yes, they do, Ryan Pitts. Yes, they do. They also drink adrenochrome. And if you don't know what adrenochrome is, it is a chemical that is made in your body when you are intensely afraid. It's similar to adrenaline. If you take someone and you put them in such a fear that they think they're going to die, their body releases, it's called adrenochrome, and sick, evil people who are all tied in with Maxwell and Epstein drink this blood filled with adrenochrome, and we'll get into that another day. That's a little bit less cut and dry. That's a little bit more, you're going to have to follow me here. You know, that's not as easy as explaining to you what propaganda is and then turn around and take a look at it. That's more of, come for a walk down the rabbit hole. We're going to be down here for a while. Checking back in. What did you miss? Probably one or two of your birth control treatments. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding, Tree. I love you, but you're pregnant. I had to make that joke. You already have a beautiful child. You're going to have another one. Congratulations to you. We're on to late night TV prop. Okay, that's Josh answering her. The Spanish flu. Exactly. The Spanish flu was never racist. You know what else was never racist? Chinese checkers, Chinese food. But then you're saying, well, that's not offensive. How about Chinese knockoff? Everybody says it. When you get something from China, it's a Chinese knockoff. It's an off-brand Chinese knockoff or Chinese imitation. That's more insulting than the Chinese flu. And it's still not racist. It's the truth. The Roo flu. There we go. The kangaroo flu. I like that. All right. So in closing, we've went through the comments. We're running on a skeleton crew. I see 5 people. I've been talking to you for almost 2 fucking hours. Hot damn. I want to try to do these often. I'm probably not going to allow you guys to pick a comment, pick a topic anymore. However, if you want to pick a topic, reach out to me. My DMs are open to everybody. I'm never going to close my DMs unless it becomes something where I'm getting consistently threatened. Then at that point, I might close my DMs. But as of right now, I'm going to keep them open. I want to keep communication. Comment on my page. Share this video. Like this video. Do whatever people do on social media to share things and get information out there. If there's anything else that you want me to address, speak now or forever hold your peace. You probably have less than 30 seconds before I get off if I don't see something in there. So let me take a sip of this and a sip of water. Insert Jeopardy music here. All right, it's an hour and 41 minutes. You guys want to fucking get out of here too. So do I. Just remember, man, think twice. Every time you look at something, ask yourself, what are they trying to make me think? Okay? The bottom line is 2 hours is too short. Yeah, I hate to say it. I kind of agree. The only reason I'm getting off is because I'm getting hungry. And there is a 0% chance that I'm going to be able to try to establish dinner plans right now while I'm on here talking about propaganda. So my stomach's grumbling and mumbling and bumbling. I'm trying to go ahead and make sure I can resolve that. But yeah, at the end result, man, propaganda is something that's designed to make you think and feel in a certain way. And if it's malicious and it's done to kind of disguise the truth, look into that. Just make sure you're open and you're aware of it. Make sure you look at what you're seeing. Make sure you take a second and you think, hey, is this information or is this someone, trying to sneak their opinion in on me? Did someone just tell me that something was good or bad? Hey, I want to let you know something. There is no such thing as news that decides whether or not something's good or bad, okay? News is only information. True news is information. This video has been going on for 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 18 seconds. Okay? That's information. This video is too damn long. You've been talking for 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 28 seconds. Wrap it up. I'm sick of this. That's an opinion. That's trying to make you feel a certain way. Okay? So with that being said, think for yourself. Don't let anyone on social media, print media, advertising media, music media, audio media, television media, Hollywood media, or legacy mainstream news media influence the way you think. Do your own research. Choose your own topics. Think for yourself. Question authority. Question everything. Do not ever accept the status quo because our future as a whole is at stake. Spread the word. I'm out. Like Anthony Brian Logan would do, peace. Thank you, Nick Bernardo, by the way. Thank you for the amazing job. as I'm about to hit the, all right, you know what? Now I'll give you a real sign off because now I have the end button to click away, and I'll do a freeze frame. All right. I gotta come up with a gimmick line at the end. You know what? I'll end it like this. So what are you gonna do, brother, when Brian Craig, the 24-inch guns of the truth and reality, rumble all over you? Ah!